Hello, everyone. Welcome along to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast, where it is our Dublin Racing Festival special. I'm more excited about this weekend's racing than I think I've been for any other jumps meeting. I suppose it's obvious given the quality that's on offer, but we're due a dose of proper quality jumps racing. We very much got that from Leopardstown this Saturday and Sunday. Rixie's back on the pod. Declan Rix, lovely to have you back. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Very good. Very happy to see you back. Don McClean joins us as well. Don, lovely to see you back as well. It's a proper weekend, Don.
It's some weekend, Tom. Yeah, no, it's a shame there aren't going to be crowds there because the atmosphere that the Dublin racing, it's only been going 3 years, which is kind of, it's hard to think that it feels like it's embedded longer than that. We've always had the races, but it's only been all on one weekend for 3 years. So yeah, no, some weekend ahead.
And it doesn't half work as well as far as a weekend's racing goes. Deasy, all good. Lovely to have you back, pal. How's things?
Things are grand, Tom. How are your things? Very, very much looking forward to this weekend now. This is after a few weeks of pretty mediocre stuff in the UK. This is a proper weekend of racing. 2 great days of it.
You can tell us about the ongoing Matchbook offer if you can, Deasy. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, so our sign-up offer at the moment is a bet 10, get 10 offer. So if you open a new account today, come in and place a bet of £10 or more at odds of 2.0 or more, and we'll give you a tenner when that bet settles to bet on whatever you want.
18 plus, be gamble aware. It's like you've done it a million times, Deasy. Lovely stuff. Let's get stuck straight into the preview then. So what we're going to do, 4 grade ones on Saturday, then we'll do any other bets for the Saturday, and then we'll do best bets for the Saturday, and then 4 grade ones on the Sunday, and eat, sleep, repeat, any other bets and best bets as well. So we are going to kick off with the opening grade 1, the first of 4 grade 1s that we've got at Leopardstown on Sunday. So the Spring Juvenile Hurdle kicks us off. Don't forget, if you then want Saturday, go to the end of the pod. So we've got Sunday first of all, and then we're going to go into it with Saturday off the back of that. So Sunday, the Spring Juvenile. I'm going to come to Rixie because I've missed him so much to kick us off with this, if you can. Look, Gordon Elliott's charge is back, and he looks very special. But is it more open than that for you, Rixie?
Yeah, I definitely think it is, Tom. It'd be interesting, I suppose, if we could just kick off there. Sorry to put you guys under pressure already, but what price are we looking at, do you think, with Calixios?
Calixios currently is around about 3.5. I've got for sorry, no, that's pre-dex. So 2.1 best price, 2.1 for Calixios. Sorry, as this is Sunday and Dex have just come through, we're just getting more updated prices through. And then you've got Yumdor around about 4.0. Bustleton's in there at 11.0. Hard Door is 12.0. So those are your and St. Sam and Varna Gold are a little bit bigger. Go on, Rixie, take it away.
Yeah, well, I just before we came on, I was having a look around just to see how other firms were pricing it up, and I saw one firm had the race priced, and he was 8 to 11, and I thought that was pretty short. I don't know about you guys, but you, by the sounds of it, there, Tom, you just said he was what was he, about 11 to 10, 5 to 4? If he was that kind of price, I'd be happy to back him, to be honest. But if it's going to be more of a case that he's going to be an 8 to 11 a shot, I think I'd have just a small few quid on, maybe even place only on Hat Door. I thought he ran very well over Christmas in a bit of a farcical race, to be honest. They really crawled along. He was probably in the worst position tactically. And he just shaped like he needed the race. He shaped like a stronger gallop would suit, and he came home well. I think he's going to be a lot sharper for that. And as we know how Willie Mullins trains, his horses tend to improve as the season go on. I just thought it'd be interesting to hear from Paul Townend now how hard it was splitting these two, because I don't think Umador, he's probably maybe a little bit ahead of him in terms of figures and form and that, but he comes here on the back of a fall. and I just don't think there's too much between them. So, you know, with a horse who was a bigger price, I'd probably side with Hathor. I did realise he was notice he was wearing a hood, but even though they went no gallop that day, he didn't pull Rachel Blackmore's arms out or anything. So even though he does wear a hood, I think he looks a pretty safe conveyance. You know, some of these horses who wears hoods, they can be a bit batshit crazy. So, but this lad looks like he's not from the Underso ilk, shall we say, and he's a bit straightforward. So I'd be happy to have a look at him. But if you were getting what you said there about 11 to 10 Quilixios, I'd be happy to back that as well. It's obviously it all depends on price.
Is there a price, Rixie, that you wouldn't go to with Quilixios? Is it the even money mark, so odds on, odds against, that's your tilting point?
Yeah, I think so. Probably about even money, I think, is maybe right, even a little bit shorter. But as I said, I saw one firm 8 to 11. I thought that was short, especially we haven't seen him in a long while. Why haven't we seen him? I know he was supposed to go to Chepstow over Christmas, but he couldn't travel, I think, with the COVID restrictions. So maybe that's not. We shouldn't read into that too much, but yeah, look, we'll see. I didn't see too much pace in this race, and to be fair to Quilixios, he does look like a horse who can sit and sprint, and if it does kind of turn into that kind of race, I think it'll really suit him, because at Down Royal we saw the gears that he possesses, and for a juvenile hurdler I thought he was a very good jumper as well. So we'll have to see which way the market settles in terms of a bet, but small field, but a good race, and should be a key pointer towards the triumph.
Donn, I know you don't have a standout bet in this, but I wonder if you could flesh out the Quilixios as to why we haven't seen him. Do you have any knowledge about that, or is there nothing specific?
No, as Declan said there, he was due to go to Chepstow, so it's probably not a massive element, but I still think it's not a positive that we haven't seen him since October. It can't have been the plan from October to leave him off until now. So whether or not he's had maybe it was the plan to leave him off till Chepstow, because as we know, Gordon Elliott has a deep tranche of juvenile hurdlers, including Zana here is obviously the standout. But yeah, like I think he's very short. I think he's too short. I think it's a deeper race than that. Willie Mullins obviously supplies a lot of the ammunition against him, and Declan alluded to a lot of it there. Like Humdor was probably going to beat Tihupu in the Ferryhouse race the last day. He travelled well. I think he traded at 1.03 or 1.04, something like that in running. So it looked like he was coming to win. And he's obviously a talented juvenile. And Adore, yeah, that was his first run the last day. And as Declan said, he didn't get the run of the race. But I actually think San Sam is even more interesting. And it looks like he's the kind of outsider of the three Willie Mullins horses. Like, he was favourite to beat Zana here at Ferryhouse at the Hatton's Grace Hurdle meeting. And okay, he didn't beat him. He didn't beat him quite emphatically by 14 lengths. But Zana here is as Zana here we now know is. But St. Sam, like, Willie Mullins just seems to still hold him in a fair amount of regard. And in that race the last day, Declan's right that Hador didn't get the run of the race. He was in behind. But actually, St. Sam, while he was further forward initially than Adore, he was on the inside. And when they picked up, and they didn't go any pace at all in that race, when they picked up, he had to come outside. He lost his position in order to get clear racing room. He came out to the outside, and he actually stayed on really well. If you look at it again, he kept on well. He was fourth. He was behind Adore. He was only a half a length behind him, though. And I know he's got more experience than Adore, but I just think he's a horse who continues to improve, and he probably wouldn't want a sedate pace. And there is absolutely, Declan's right, there's a danger of that here, because he's stoutly bred. I think his dam won over 2 miles, won a hurdle race. So he's got, there's plenty of stamina, so he wouldn't want a sedate pace. But and Quilixios has led, so he might get to dictate his own pace up front. But I just think San Sam, like, he was a massive price when French Seal was in. It's the pity French Seal isn't running, because it would have been good to see him make his debut in the Joey Donnelly colours for Willie Mullins, because he was so impressive when Elmarie Holden had him in winning at Leopardstown last time. So we're not seeing him. But San Sam, yeah, I just think Quilixios is short enough, and I think San Sam could be the value against him.
Yeah, win and place 12.0 for San Sam. Is that good enough for you, Donn?
Yeah, like it's a 6-horse race. It's not an ideal each way race per se, but on Matchbook you get the correct place terms in the place market. So yeah, like I just think he'll outrun his odds.
I know that Deasy and I agree. Half for me is head, and also is heart for Sam Turner's horse to follow, or hurdler to follow this year, which is Bustleton. I'll let you do the arguing as to why Deasy with Bustleton.
Yeah, he finished second to Zanaher that race at Christmas. That was his first run. I think he's entitled to come on for that. He led for most of that race at a very slow pace. He was a nice big price that day as well. He landed a nice bit of place money for everyone involved. I just think that Sam put him up there, and I was talking to Sam, just checking the stable. They said that they still rate him very highly. He's a grand price as well for this. He was what is he going to do? Is he about 11.0? You said. Yeah, so I'd be quite happy to I was looking back through this race. There's only been 2 favourites have won this race in the past 10 years. Calixios is a nice horse, but he's very short, so I think it'd be well worth taking him on with Bustleton. Maybe them maybe a quarter win and 3/4 place on him.
And just to add to that, the trainer's got a pretty good recent record in the race as well. And I just don't feel he's here to make up the numbers. I know he got the run of the race last time, and he was beaten fair and square, but he just shaped as though he would take a huge step forward for that. And I think it's interesting they're willing to step him into Grade 1 company already. So I'm very much in agreement with you there, Dease. Let's kick on to the next contest. This is the Chanelle Pharma Novices Hurdle, 2 mile contest. This is, of course, when it was created as a Dublin Racing Festival, I think it was brought back to 2 miles. Was originally 2-2. Appreciate It, unsurprisingly, heads the betting. I think most of our team went for Ballyadam over Appreciate It last time, but and sadly most of us were wrong. But Appreciate It was mighty impressive, 1.9. Ballyadam is in there at 8.0 now. Off the back of that, I suppose slightly different, disappointing effort last time. Then you've got Blue Lord at 12.0. Irascible is at 12.0. And then you are fighting out for the double figures. I'll come straight back to you, Dease, because I know I agree with you for one of these. The way you're looking to place this, not necessarily take on the horse that heads the betting, but just get stuck into some of those bigger prices.
Yeah, I'd be you're going to get 3 places, and this you might get 4 in some places. So I think it's well worth having a go with William Mullen's horse, Mr. Coldstone. He was sent down to Tremor the day that what's his name, the Gold Cup horse,
Alvin Photo.
Sorry.
Oh yeah,
just a 2-time Gold Cup winner.
Oh my God, lads, I know see that place. Sorry. He ran the first race in that car that day, and Willie Mullen sent Raw down there for Alvin Photo's prep last year. So he obviously fancies Tremor as a bit of a track for prep with his horses. Mr. Coulson absolutely bolted up. He's in here now. He's going to be about 26.0. I would definitely be trying a place bet with him. And the other one I liked as well was Master McShee. Just on the line through Appreciate It. He got close enough to him on his debut. He's come out and won twice since. He's going to be about 14.0, Tom. So I'd be quite happy for a 2 place bets with both of them in this race.
So you're not out and out taking on the fab necessarily, but you're not laying the fab, but you want to get stuck in at bigger prices. I would echo that. I was half interested in Kescon Risk, who did put up as a best bet place last time. Unfortunately, he ran on well beaten, but did get the 3rd. But I don't know. I think you half want these horses you're putting up to have a little bit in the win market. And I just can't see him winning over this trip. I think he wants further. I agree with you with Mr. Coldstone, that well-known jump stallion Tamayas got Mr. Coldstone here, but it's interesting. He was running over sprint trips actually on the level because there is stamina in that pedigree. He was really good, and Willie doesn't always win this with his first string necessarily. I often feel that this is the sort of race where they do. When you get to Cheltenham, his first string novice hurdlers, they're the ones to side with. But around this time, that's not always the case per se. And I just thought Mr. Coldstone ran. He was eye-catching last time because he bolted out, and he could take a huge step forward. Apparently, he had a big old blow after the race as well. So he's entitled to step forward for it as well. So I thought 26.0. I'd be playing mainly in the place market, just have a small win, just because you never know. Rixie?
Yeah, look, I think Appreciate It deserves his position in the market, to be honest, on what we've seen so far with all these horses. He does look a class apart. I was very impressed with him at Leopardstown over Christmas. For a big horse, he does jump well. Maybe spends a little bit of time in the air, but he's got an awful lot of class about him. He travels well, and what was really impressed with, given how big he is, how he quickened up off the bend and put the race to bed. So he's one that I'm agree with the bookies that he deserves to be as short he is in the market. With that being said, look, it's a market I think that's criminally underused. If you take Appreciated out of this and just let's pretend he's not running in this race, it's a very open race and a much better betting heat. So I'll be looking at the race from a without Appreciated point of view. Just tactically, just looking at the race, that looks like we're going to have pace from Appreciated, Master McClean, wide receiver, Great Bear, Hook Up. They all like to get on with it, and we've got a big field of 16 here. So, it doesn't look like it's going to be a run at a crawl, which you really don't want at this kind of level of race. And the pace is going to be honest enough to see for all horses to have a fair chance. So with that in mind, look, I think the Appreciated form is very strong. I was impressed with Irascible over Christmas. I thought he did as well to get as close to him, even though he was well beaten at Leopardstown. He just had a much wider trip and he was held up. I don't think he's a horse you want to be holding up over this kind of trip. I think he's a horse who'll stay 2 miles well. So I'm hoping Rachel Blackmore will ride him a little bit more forward today. There's going to be more pace for him to run at, and that should bring his stamina into play. So if it may well turn out that Appreciated is scooting away in the distance, but hopefully Irascible will be scooting away from the third and fourth in the dying stages. So I'm going to look at him in the without market. The only thing I would say with him is looking at the sectionals. When the pace did increase at Leopardstown that day, his jumping wasn't as good as it should be. So I just want to see him jump a little bit better. But I think if they make more use of him and put him out in the firing line early, I think there is a chance he will jump a bit better. So it's going to be Irascible without the fav for me.
So he's 12.0 currently. We will have a without the favourite market for a few of these races on Matchbook, and this one included. That's not priced up as yet, but when it is, that's who Rixie will be siding with. Irascible without the favourite. As I say, currently with the favourite in, it is a 12.0 shot. Donn, I've got no official selection for you. I did want to ask about Ballyadam very quickly. Is he a write-off job now to reverse that form, do you think? Is he just a horse for next year, or where are you?
No, I don't think he's a write-off at all, Tom. I think you can forgive any Gordon Elliott horse his or her run at Christmas. His horses just weren't in good form, and while Ballyadam was well beaten by Appreciated, there is a chance that he can bounce back. I mean, as we know, Avocadabra scoped badly, and a lot of them underperformed. So I think you can probably give any Gordon Elliott or every Gordon Elliott a pass for any poor run around about Christmas time. So no, I wouldn't write off Ballyadam yet. I think this is a fascinating race. Like Appreciated, I think at the start of the season, Willie Mullins was saying that Appreciated would probably go out and trip, and Fernie Hollow was his horse for the 2 mile races for the on track for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. But obviously Fernie Hollow's out now, and Appreciated has taken up that mantle. I think he surprised Willie Mullins with the pace that he showed in winning over 2 miles at Leopardstown over Christmas. So now he's the 2 mile horse, and yeah, look, it makes sense he's favourite. But yeah, I agree with a lot of what Declan said about Irascible. I think Blue Lord as well. He was very keen the last day over 2.5 miles in the Lawlers of Naas race that Bob Ollinger won, and Bob Ollinger was very impressive in winning it. But Blue Lord, like he actually travelled better to the second last flight than Bob Ollinger did. He didn't get home as well as him, and it's possible that his early exertions told more so than the step up and trip to 2.5 miles. But back to 2 miles, the distance over which he beat Julie Stowaway at Punchestown. And that day, he only beat Julie Stowaway by a half length, but Julie Stowaway beat Ballyadam last year in a bumper. And Paul Townend said afterwards that the penny just started to drop with him from the second last flight. He only really figured out what he was asking to do from the second last. So I think Blue Lord he remains an interesting horse. I thought maybe he was still a 2.5 mile horse and go to the Ballymore and maybe put a hood on him or ride him with exaggerated weighting tactics, as Paul Townend did in Fernie Hollow last year in the bumper. But to go to 2 miles and 6 in the Natalia Lacey race. But obviously, I think if there had been a 2.5 mile race, he might have run in that at this meeting. But 2 miles 6 or 2 miles.
Could he interest you at all, Don? You know, double figures about him, just albeit in a race of this nature with a big field. Would he tempt you in a place market or not really?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like he's that. I think there's more to come from Blue Lord. And look, you know, I've don't want to go down through all the runners, but Master McShee, he's an underrated horse as well. He had the option of going in the handicap instead. He's come through the handicap route. It's probably Corkery's only horse, I think. So he's a bit under the radar. And Ngolo, I think I put him up in the Christmas race when he finished 9th of 9. So that was good. I think there's more to come from him though as well.
He'll win just to spite you, Don. He'll win to spite you off the back of that.
Yeah, like I just think it's fascinating, and you're right, Tom. Like Willie Mullins, he's won 7 of the last 10 of these, but I think 5 of them weren't favoured, and oftentimes, like last year with the steering for Lunge, Mount Leinster was favoured in front of it. I don't think he was favoured, but he was shorter than him. When Bacardi's won it, he wasn't the best fancied or the most fancied of the Willie Mullins horses. So you also, you know, the Willie Mullins horses, they're all worthy of note, I think.
I always had this in mind as the race where they get sorted out, and then from here you side with the one at the top of the betting. I just always had that in the back of my mind. All right, let's kick on to the Flogas. Is a fantastic renewal, mainly centered around Monkfish. What makes it so interesting though is if you're wanting to take him on at all, do you try and crab him? The fact that he's coming back in trip ever so slightly. Rixie, you kick us off because I think again you're looking at the without market here.
Yeah, again, look, I totally agree with Monkfish's position at the head of the market here. I think he deserves to be odds on. He's quite an exciting horse. I thought, you know, he beat Latest Exhibition by 3 lengths at Christmas, and you know, just the way he went through the race, a bit of a joke of a race in terms of pace early. Which didn't put too much pressure on their jumping and whatnot. But apart from one mistake, he jumped well, and he just looked. I just kind of couldn't get away from Paul Townend's body language in the last kind of quarter mile of the race, last half a mile of the race. You know, he always looked like he was happy, and he had Latest Exhibition covered. And that was even with Brian Cooper giving Latest Exhibition a very good ride and serving it up to him quite a long way out, and it made for a very good race. But you know, at the end, he just had too much class and probably a bit too much pace for a Latest Exhibition. So I'm going to take him out of the equation again. And you know, I'm going to give Andy Dufresne a chance here in the without market. This was a horse I couldn't have last season. I thought he was on what he was doing on the track. He was very much overhyped. We obviously came. You know, in the races in the McMahon, the Silks runs for Gordon Elliott, and you know, he was quite an expensive point-to-point purchase. So he had the profile of a horse with a big reputation, and while he was performing well on the track, I couldn't see the mid 140s or even 150s animal. But this year, I think he's a much better horse. You know, they skipped Cheltenham with him, and I think that looks like it, in terms of his long-term interests. I think that's going to be a decision that's that's going to do his career well. A little bit like Unda Solis and Cheltenham in his early career, you know, by Willie Mullins. You know, I think it's going to be similar along those lines. I liked what he did at Navan the last day. He beat Embittered. It was a horse I have a soft spot for. But I think Embittered is potentially maybe now going to be a high-class handicapper than a Grade 1 novice. But to be fair, Joseph O'Brien's horses probably weren't right at Christmas either, along with Gordon Elliott. So, but I love the way he went through that race at Navan. He jumped very well. He looked nice and bright and alert, and he just did everything nicely. And I never had him down as a novice hurdler, as a horse who would be good over the minimum kind of trip. Embittered, I did have down as a horse who would be good over 2 miles because he's got a lot of pace. So I think stepping up in trip, we're going to see more improvement from Andy Dufresne this time. So he's a much bigger price than Latest Exhibition in the market. So I'm just hoping that the Gordon Elliott team can squeeze a little bit more out of him, along with Andy Dufresne stepping up in trip. So I'm going to go with him. Just again, from a tactical point of view, in terms of pace, you've got Andy Dufresne, you've got Asterion, Furlong, Conflated, Monkfish. They all like to race at the head of the proceedings. Whether or not Asterian Falange makes it past the first fence today, we'll see. So maybe the pace won't be as strong if he exits again. So it should be an honest race. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm just hoping they can squeeze a little bit more out of Andy Dufresne going up in trip. So I'm gonna bet him without Monkfish.
With Monkfish in the market, he's a 15.0 mark, and then without, when that market is priced up, you can work out exactly where he's going to be in relation to the others, and that's who Rixie's going to side with. If he does win, we need to clip up the Morgan Freeman bit where he says rehabilitated in the Shawshank Redemption as a little reference to Andy Dufresne. That's how sad I am. My God.
Or Andy Dufresne, as I've seen him called in other parts of the media.
It happened early doors, didn't it? Happened early doors. You got to love it. Look, I know Deasy doesn't have an official selection here. Look, I really struggled with it, just going round in circles, really. And I think part of me saw that smile of Paul Townend after he won and just thought nothing's going to beat this horse. But I certainly wouldn't back him at that sort of price. And this would be a sit and watch job for me. Does anyone have anything to add to this contest? Feel free to do so, Don.
Yeah, the only, I mean, you're looking for reasons why Monkfish might not win an odds-on shot. It's like, so he's dropping back down in trip, and I think that might suit latest exhibition better than Monkfish. Like when Monkfish beat him in the Albert Bartlett last year, latest exhibition actually went in front, and Monkfish battled back between him and Fury Road. And last time, I think I read somewhere where they might delay the challenge a bit longer this time and just try and pounce on Monkfish and beat him for a turn of foot. And if Brian Cooper, like he did engage with him quite a long way out the last day at Leopardstown in the Neville Hotels race, and if they just maybe sit and pounce over a slightly shorter trip, that might be a way in which latest exhibition will beat Monkfish. Look, Monkfish he's been brilliant over his fences. He jumps so well, and I agree with Declan and Andy Dufresne. Asterian Falange is fascinating. Like he does jump right. The only thing that could bring Asterian Falange into it, I think, is if the ground gets really, really soft. And it's an advantage to race wide down the back straight at Leopardstown and to come wide around the home turn. So, like, because he does jump right, and we've seen that, and like we saw with a couple of horses who, when this season going left-handed but jumping right and wanting to stay out wide, like Brahma Bull did it at Navan or Nace there recently, went out to the right and stayed out to the right, even though he jumps to his right. So it's not that big a disadvantage to be going left if you're jumping to your right. And if the ground gets really soft, that could be something for Asterian Falange. He wears a tongue tie as well for the first time. So that's again, he's a talented horse. Do
you know what? That's what's really interesting for me, right? Is a horse that's fallen the last twice and he didn't get past the first last time, and I'm thinking what they're going to do about his jumping, and they stuck a tongue tie on him, and I'm like, what? Hang on, that really sort of blown my blow.
I'm sure they've done other things as well, mind you.
Yes, I just don't. To be honest, now I don't know if he is that talented. I don't know. You know, when a horse has that in their head, that sort of York Hill scoundrelness about them almost, I just don't know if you can pitch them into being that talented because they have this trait. I'm a bit on the fence with him now, having come into the season so excited about him going chasing.
Just to say that with what Don was saying, it looks like the setup at Leopardstown on the chase track. This Lorcan Weir is saying they've pushed the fences over towards the far running rail. So it looks like they could potentially race up against, not up against the far rail, but the course has moved further over that way. But in saying that, Asterian Falange will probably jump into the car park then, so we'll see what way it goes.
That was a comment from Brian that just came in. Sorry, Galt Stats, Phil Duderi to make Envoy Allen 1-2's on for the Marsh. If Phil Duderi goes and wins it, I suppose it is going to have an impact on Envoy. Although that horse can't shorten up too much, can he? Based upon we know how good Envoy Allen is doing. And Giles Dexter.
I don't see that anyway. I think he got £11 from Envoy Allen that day, didn't he? And Envoy Allen is, he's a horse with so much ability and he dosses so much. I think a lot of horses are actually a little bit flattered to get as close as they do to him. So if Phil Duderi wins this race, I will be very disappointed.
And Giles has said Asterian will look a big price if he makes it round. And he's also said, remember, he went off 9-4 for the Supreme. But that's the point. And but the if he makes it round, you've got to factor that in, right? He doesn't look perfect at his obstacles. He doesn't look a natural for me. So
yeah, the first fence the last day was.
Sorry, Dan. Go.
Sorry, yeah. The first fence the last day was bananas because he seemed to be meeting it on a stride, and Danny Mullen just go and jump it, and he put in another stride for some unknown reason. So I just think that, you know, maybe I don't know why he would have done that, but it's a mystery. But sorry, Micheál.
I was just going to say, what price would he be to make it round at this stage now? You know, we'd have to. We might get that special up on side. Keep an eye on that now tomorrow, Giles, or Sunday. Sorry.
The odds against anyway, wouldn't it?
Well, he was jumped very well at Limerick before he came down. I mean, I know that's, you know, it was nice before it turned not nice, but like he was jumping fluently and everything was going to plan until he just tipped up. So I still think he's a talented horse, Tom. I think there's talent there, lots of it. It's just a case of untapping it now.
I think the potential issue with Syrian Phalange is maybe his sire. I've noticed a lot of those coastal path horses are maybe, you know, kind of the Scorpion-esque kind of, they've got that little kink in them, but they've got a lot of ability, but some of them can just be a little, you know, they look like they're fit for a straitjacket, but we shall see. I've probably just pissed off someone big time in the breeding industry there, but I apologise.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to cost them a fortune now. Let's move on. Let's kick on to the Irish Gold Cup. Sunday 3:40. This is. Let me read out the prices before I have a go at Donn. That I should do that. So as it stands at the moment, you've got a 3.0 for Manila Indo. Delta Work is 5.5. Kemboy, I've completely missed out, 4.0. Melon is 4.0, and the Storyteller's the biggest price of the lot. Look, it's open, it's fab. I was basically writing down that Donn was going to tip up Manila Indo already for this, and he hasn't. This is Donn's horse to follow for the year, the chaser to follow for the year, and he's going elsewhere again. Donn, explain yourself.
Yeah, I think he's too short for the evidence that we have going into the. Look, I love Manila Indo, as you know, and I backed him for the Cheltenham Gold Cup. But I just think that after I think the plan that Henry de Brum had outlined before the Savills Chase was to run in the Savills Chase and go straight to the Cheltenham Gold Cup. He fell early on in the Savills Chase, which was uncharacteristic because he is a very good jumper. So now they've rerouted the plan and bring him here. I just think that you know his main aim on Sunday will obviously be to win, but main aim will be to have a good run. Whereas Delta Work, I think his main aim will be to win. I think this is his race. This is the race that they would have targeted for him. Like, he's so good at Leopardstown. Okay, he unseated last time as well, the fence after Manila Indo. But he's apart from that, he's 3 for 3 over fences at Leopardstown. He won the Savills Chase and the Irish Gold Cup last year, and I just think that he's the kind of come-in horse. He was disappointing in the Gold Cup. I think that the Cheltenham Gold Cup, the sedate pace wouldn't have suited him. He was beaten on his debut this year at Down Royal. He's never at his best on his debut. He only won once, and he scraped home that day from a horse rated in the high 120s. And with those runs under his belt, back at Leopardstown where he's so good, back with Jack Kennedy on board, and Gordon Elliott says that Jack Kennedy is very important to him. I just think that he's actually the highest rated horse in the race. He's rated 170, £2 higher than his next highest. And look, Melon and Kemboy, they're big players, but I think Melon is probably better over 2.5, a stiff 2.5, and with it at the stiff track at a fast pace. Kemboy, if the ground is soft, and there are talks about the ground getting a wee bit better now, but on soft ground, I think Kemboy is vulnerable over 3 miles, and for a soft ground for Delta Work, 3 miles Leopardstown, there is optimum conditions in my book, and I just think he shouldn't be fourth favourite behind those three, Tom.
Yeah, I can see it. And look, as you say, it's a price selection. You know you love Manila Indo, but you are going, he's too short. I think the other lads are completely in agreement with you, Deas.
Yeah, Donn has said it all there. I thought he was a standout price even before Dex. He was much bigger. The market is moved in his favour already. I think that this he will be much better in this run and definitely in his Cheltenham run and probably Punchestown after than his early season work. So I'm quite happy to stick him up in this.
Delta Work for you, and I think Rixie agrees as well.
Yeah, I think Donn has summed it up well. I just think Delta Work is just the epitome of a value bet, to be honest. I think he should be shorter. I think Manila Endo should be bigger on what he's done. There's still Manila Endo is priced up like he's a proven grade 1 horse in an open company, but we simply haven't seen that yet. Mellon, could be a little bit vulnerable over this trip. There's talks of him going to be held up this time, but he jumped and travelled so well the last time. Sometimes when you break a horse's stride like that, it doesn't always work. Kemba, we should obviously talk about David Mullins retiring, because I think of all the horses he's going to miss, or of all the horses, should I say, that are going to miss him, I think it's David Mullins, because Kemba hasn't been the easiest. He's kind of dipped in and out of form over the years. His jumping has sometimes been good, it's sometimes been bad. But the last day over Christmas, David got a really good tune out of him. He got him jumping well. He got the horse into a good rhythm and had him going along nice and sweet. I think Danny Mullins is gonna ride him today, on Sunday. And Danny's, I think, style will suit him, but I just think David missing for him is going to be a potential negative. And then on the same hand, Sean Flanagan rode Delta Work over Christmas when Jack Kennedy was missing. Jack is back on board today, and I think Jack is the jockey who gets the best out of Delta Work. So at the prices, for me, it's going to be Delta Work. And another thing with him that's a positive is a small field is going to be a positive for him, because his jumping can be a little bit iffy. So I just think, look, hopefully there's a little bit of support for him. We will see what the story is. He's actually too big a price now. You're nearly worried about him. Is there an issue there now or something like that? So we'll see. And that's just one thing I'd like to ask you, boys. Willie Mullins obviously been informed since Christmas. He had a red hot Christmas. Gordon Elliott didn't do too well. Joseph O'Brien didn't do too well. I don't think the Elliott yard are still firing brilliantly. I don't think the Henry de Bromhead yard are firing brilliantly. I don't think the Joseph O'Brien yard are kind of firing either. So, have any of you boys picked up on that, or am I just talking absolute nonsense again?
I think Don's the best person to pick up on that. But what I would say is I didn't have Gordon in my mind as that really since Christmas. Did at Christmas, but not so much recently. And the only thing I'd say about Henry de Bromhead and a lot of the other trainers, I mean, Noel Mead was one of them, is I think really this year they hit the ground running this season going in, the end of 2020. And there was this sort of idea coming out that, you're going to struggle much more in the sort of early months of the next year and in the spring to compete with Mullins and Elliott. And so they got off to an absolute flyer, and whether they're struggling now, I'm not sure. It's just that the others are, it's leveling up a bit more. But Don's probably somebody to comment on that with a little bit more depth.
Yeah, I don't think the Gordon Elliott horses are in bad form, Declan.
I wouldn't say bad form, but I just don't think they're firing like they can and how they should be. Yeah,
I mean, I think that they're going well. Like, the 1-2 in the PSAs, he had Choreograph won. He's had plenty of winners and plenty of horses going well in defeat. Volcano as well. I'd see it more as nearly a positive for the Gordon Elliott horses that they were out of form at Christmas, and they're definitely in better form now than they were at Christmas. And if the markets, if these races are priced up based on, with the recency bias that they usually have, I think a couple of the Gordon Elliott horses could be overpriced.
Can I just pick up on just getting the stats up in front of me? Because I think the other thing is that if you look at Gordon's stats, December he had a better month than November, and December he's had a better month than January. But because it was the notable runners over Christmas that weren't going so well, he had a 15% strike rate in December, and it was more like 11 and 10 the months either side. But because it was the notable horses, you suddenly think they're not in such good form. So you sort of overplay that. But actually the stats would suggest that of late, or January wasn't such a great month for it.
Yeah.
Now Don McClean, stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah.
But it could have been just that they hit that bad patch, because a couple of them did scope poorly after Christmas, and maybe that that the screws were tightened for Christmas, but the screws were tight. Like the big races so far in January, like to have a 1-2 on the Estes chase, one of the most competitive handicap chases on the calendar, that was obviously a phenomenal result, and the horses ran well either side of that. And I don't think it's really an issue. I think they're running well enough. You know, maybe January's down. What's his January stat, Tom? 10 or 12%, is it?
It's 11%. He's had 9 from 83 in Ireland. I mean, it's I'm
not sure. Do the Irish trainers as well? Do they give their horses the flu vaccines in January as well? I know it's a very talked about thing with Paul Nichols.
I think most of them do it now. I think a lot do it now. So I'm not sure. Hi, Trevor from TNT. Beautiful. Bet it's a bit nicer over there. Right, look, but because of time pressure, I'm gonna ask us to move on if we can. I didn't give my selection, did I? I should really do that. Look, it's very boring. At the prices, I don't think Delta Work is value at his current price, and I don't think Minella Indo is. If Minella Indo was edging towards 3.5, the price that he went off for the Savills, in what it should be an easier race, if you take out Presenting Percy, who was in that, and fewer runners, etc., then I'd say he'd be value. But unless he was over 3.0, I wouldn't be backing him. He's the one I want to back, but I can't at the prices, and I'm very boring. I just can't find a play in it. Apologies. Let's move on to any other bets on the Sunday. Be as concise as you can. I will take the lead on this and say that I like Brandy Love in the Mayor's Bumper. Obviously, Willie's got a couple of really nice mares in that one in the JP colours, whose name has flown out of my head. But I will get there. Take T. Now, she's been purchased off the back of a good performance last time, but I was really taken with Brandy Love. It's probably the victim of working on Racing TV when she ran and won, and I was very excited by her, and I thought wherever she goes, she'll be interesting. This is the obvious race for her. She does head the betting, but Grand G I wasn't very taken with. She's a fair bigger price for Willie, obviously. And Patrick, I suppose Derek O'Connor's riding Take T because of the JP connection, but Patrick rode Take T last time. But she is my other bet I'm going to be having on the day in the Mayor's Bumper. Brandy Love for Willie Mullins. Don, what about you? Any other bets on Sunday?
I think Arkle might be interesting in the handicap chase. I thought he ran really well in the Paddy Power chase at Christmas, over 3 miles, back down to 2 miles 5. I think, he's up a pound. He got a pound for that run. I thought it was a very good run. And I think that he could be well handicapped horse in the low 140s.
And he's trading about 11.0. Farclar. Declan, any other bet?
No, I didn't get a chance to have a really good look at the Sunday decks. I think I'm concentrating more. I think there's better opportunities betting Saturday. Top
man. And Deasy, any other bet on the Sunday for you?
I was looking at Traces and Escarty in the 410, the race that the Fair Class is running in as well. Early prices suggest he's going to be near the top of the market, but I think this would have been a target for the long time. He won last year at the Dublin Racing Festival, so I'd be expecting a big run from him.
Never forget the first time that name came up on screen on Racing TV. I basically soiled myself. Had no idea what on earth I was going to say when it came out. I think I just mumbled something. But you said it perfectly, DC. Tracy's in a Scorthy for you. Okay. Best bets on Sunday from Leopardstown. There's going to be a scrap over Delta Work. I'm going to come to Rixie first because I've missed him. Who's your best bet, Rixie?
Delta Work, please.
Good man. Delta Work 5.0 as well is that's the latest price we've got, as you say. That's value. DC, you singing from the same hinge sheet with your best bet?
No, I'll go for Traces in Escarty in the 10 past 4S.
Okay, fine, no problem. You can agree on the best bets. Don, your best bet on Sunday from Leopardstown?
Delta Work.
Delta Work.
The double penalty. Oh no.
Look out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for Bustleton, 11.0. One for Sam Turner. Sam, if you're watching, Jose O'Brien's won it the last couple of years, and I was quite taken with Bustleton last time. Win and place very much. It's a great mention, Galt Stats. Thanks very much for that.
We forgot to blow a bit of smoke up your hole at the start of the pod about the recent success, Tom. But Tom is the hot hand at the moment, lads. Listen to what he's saying.
You're very kind. Yeah, a best bet went in at SP of 41.0. There you go. Happy day.
Who was that?
Big time.
Taking risks.
Taking risks in the
great show.
Good man.
in the
Wow.
big chase. Yeah, very good.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Yeah, and a lovely turn of phrase with blow smoke up your holdies. Lovely. A real just rolls off the tongue.
You started saying it a few weeks ago, but you didn't finish it off because
Yeah,
polite UK gentleman. But I'm
quite right. Quite right. Sunday done. That's it. Let's kick on to Saturday. We're bang on for an hour here, lads. Let's move on to Saturday. It was always hopeful, wasn't it? Let's be honest. So Saturday, we've got the now, which is of course a 2 mile 6 novice hurdle, which is the 105. I mean, I love these. The novice contests really, I think, are better than the open races as far as the, or certainly more open than those other races. I'm going to ask Deasy to kick us off because I know you're looking at bigger prices. I'll give them to you when you've said the horses.
Yeah, I kind of looked at this race based on it being very heavy ground. I don't think it's going to be as heavy as I was hoping for. The horse I came down on was Vanilla, Gavin Cromwell's horse. I thought if you watched back his race at Limerick at Christmas, now he finished second to Farouk Dalene, but he made up, I'd say he made up 10 or 15 lengths on Farouk Dalene. He just absolutely went through the ground. It was very heavy at Limerick at Christmas as well. Loved the ground. I thought he was a bit overpriced. This race is generally won by future chasers, and I noticed that Gavin Cromwell said that he expects him to be a very good chaser in a few years' time. He's going to be about 17.0, 18.0? Yeah, I'd be quite happy with that now with a small win and a nice place betting him. And the other one I liked was Gentleman's Game, Most Morris' horse. Now, Most Morris has only had 4 runners recently, but 2 of them have won. One of them was Sam's profile at Thursday's meeting. I always take notice of if he has a good novice. I thought he was very good in his debut at Cork. He absolutely blew him away. Again, Most isn't the trainer to waste bullets, and he's going to be about 10.0. I'd be very interested in him as well. Again, a small win and a place bet.
Mouse was very positive about him after that, and particularly positive about him stepping up in trip, and he looked that way as well. I thought he was really good. Good stuff. Let's. I agree with you, Rixie, but I'll let you make the argument because you'll make it better than me. So go on, Statler. Why?
I just thought he took a massive step forward the last day at Leopardstown. In literally everything he did, I thought he jumped better. He travelled a little bit better again. He just looked a seriously improved horse to my eye, and the way Willie Mullins trains them. If he takes another step forward again. I think we're talking about a pretty exciting horse. He's going to be a serious chaser down the line. I just think I would have him and the Mullins favourite, Gaillard du Messil, closer in the betting. I thought in terms of numbers and ratings, I thought they ran to very similar levels in what they did at Leopardstown. But Statler is basically twice the price, I think. So I'm going to go with him. But look, you've got Paul Townend has picked the other horse. That's obviously, you've got to kind of factor that in as well. And Willie's got so many horses in this race. You just need to watch the betting as well and see what the betting says. I just want to take on Gaillard du Messil. He's wearing a hood for the first time, and I don't know why. I didn't think he was that keen that he needed a hood. I know Willie is a little bit worried about going up and trip with him, but I just didn't see any need for him to have a hood. So if the hood backfires, that opens up the whole game here. So I'm going to go with Statler. I think he's a lovely horse. There's a lot of really nice novices in this race. The other thing about the favourite is he won off a sound gallop the last day at Leopardstown. I don't think there's going to be too much pace on here, to be honest. It looks like they could potentially crawl around, and that's just another thing to maybe take him on. If they did happen to go a strong gallop, Fakira is one who could go really well for the Gordon Elliott team. He looks like a proper stayer to me, but it just the race is not mapping like it's going to be run at a strong gallop. So I'm going to go with Statler.
I completely agree with you with a hood for the horse that heads the betting, and Willie's also doing it with Shadow River, and I guess it's a stepping up in trip, but I like the fact they're not doing it with Statler, and he just looks a horse who's going to be crying out for this sort of test. Conversely, it is a race that Willie's won with the first in the betting quite a few times, But for the other race, it suited my argument to bring it up. So there you go. But I like Statler. I think he's crying out for this, and I just thought he was the value selection. So I'm following you in there. Don, anything for this? And we've actually had Galt Stats has been in touch again, just saying what happened to Holy Macapony last time. You can answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something wasn't right with Holy Macapony.
Yes, I mean, it wasn't his running. I don't know that anything came to light afterwards. He just faded very, very tamely. It was disappointing, and he'd beaten Gaillard de Mesnil, of course, before that at Punchestown. So it'll be interesting to see if he bounces back. Gaillard de Mesnil probably stepped forward from that Punchestown run the last day, obviously, that race is working out really well. He beat Mr. Incredible and Magic Days, and they've both won well since. And even the America finished behind Magic Days next to McClean won at Down Royal yesterday. So it's very, very strong form. The step up to 2 mile 6. I'd say if there's a 2.5 mile race, then he'd be running in the 2.5 mile race as opposed to the 2 mile 6. And by contrast, agree with the lads that Statler will probably appreciate stepping up and trip even further. He's probably a 3 mile horse more so than even a 2.5 mile horse. But I think Cape Gentleman is a very interesting horse here at a decent price. He's an Irish Cesarovich winner. He won the Irish Cesarovich off a mark of 85. He's now rated 100 on the flat, which is great. You know, he's that class of a horse. But just the way he won the last day at Punchestown, okay, he's going to have to step up from a form perspective, but his jumping was very, very good. He made one mistake down the back straight. He was kind of long at it. But apart from that, he was fluent and fast. He travelled really well for Brian Hayes. He moved to the front around the home turn and he kicked on. He won very easily from Petit Bonhomme, who hasn't run since, but he's a highly regarded horse of Henry de Bromhead. So, look, he's going to have to step forward again. He's into a different class here, but he just travels so well. He's got that flat form. He handles soft ground well. He's stepping up from 2.5 miles to 2 miles 6. As an Irish Cesarovich winner, you'd think that should suit him, that the greater test of stamina should suit him better. And yeah, I think he's a little bit under the radar. We've lost Tom.
We have. Just to answer that Holy Macapony question, I was actually talking to one of the lads a couple of days ago. He had a full MOT, nothing came to light. They literally have no idea what happened, and he's supposedly in good form. So if you are a Holy Macapony fan, I wouldn't give up on him.
Hi guys.
Tom's back.
Sorry everyone. I assume you answered the Holy Macapony question, which is great.
The answer is there's no answer.
Yeah, exactly. Stopped quickly is all I got. Okay, so we've got a couple of stats. Anything else to add to this race, ladies and gents?
Yes, I've got it that Ganapati is running here because I've backed them for the Supreme and they're putting them up in shrimp.
Yeah, that's not ideal, is it? Let's kick on to the Arkle. We have. Oh, sorry. Yeah. No, we'll go
Dublin Chase first. Yeah.
I should go Dublin Chase first, shouldn't I? Dublin Chase before the Arkle, 135, and good old Shacken is here. I know that Rixie's going to want to make use of the without market again. Shacken is 1.5 shot. Min again taking him on 5.0. Notebook is an 8.0 shot, and then into the bigger prices. Go on, Rixie. The without market again interests you in Notebook?
Yes, it does. Basically, agree with Shacken Poursois' position in the outright market, so I'm going to take him out of the equation. I just thought I don't think there's too much between Notebook and Min, and I know people are going to hear that and think I'm talking absolute drivel. And on Min's old form, I think you'd have to agree that would be the case. But Min is a 10-year-old now. He's getting on. I wasn't that impressed with him in the Ryanair last year. I thought that the race maybe fell apart a little bit. Frodon obviously didn't run his race. The Aplutard just didn't look happy in the early stages. Didn't look like he ran up to his very best form, which meant Min bet St. Calvados, who I didn't have on my mind in winning a Ryanair before the race. The closing sectionals from 3 out stood up poorly to what Sam Crow and Mellon and all those horses did in the JLT. So I just think Min is potentially on the downgrade, while Notebook I think is on the upgrade. And if Min stays at his current level and Notebook takes another jump forward over a 2 mile, 1.5 furlong trip that you would think would probably suit Notebook more, I just thought him in the without market would be the bet.
I think just to pick up on why the without market, I think this race is perfectly highlights why it's so interesting, because you've got Notebook in there taking on Chacun Pour Soi. Again, the perception is he can't reverse that form from last time. He was comfortably beaten fair and square. He can't reverse that form. Therefore, he's the price he is. That recency bias of it being the last time out almost sort of, half rules him out for the race if Chacun Pour Soi stands up. But if you take the favourite out of that market, he's fighting against Min. And then you can argue that he's value with the favourite taken out of that market if you're weighing him up solely against Min. I feel like I've gone a roundabout way of explaining that, but that's why there is value in the without markets, Rixie.
Yeah, no, exactly. And look, they're a market I love to use. Sometimes you look at a race and you go, oh, this favourite's going to win, but I don't really want to back him at a short price. And if you take the favourite out of the equation, it can be a very interesting race from a betting point of view. So, never do I shout as loud as I do for coming second. So it's great.
Do you? Deeds. You like Notebook here without market or just
yeah, without market is time.
Yeah. What a game! Love it.
What a game.
For all the reasons that Richie says, look, I think Min is probably at his best over 2.5 miles. He's 10. You could expect a small bit of progression in his form, and Notebook was absolutely brilliant last year and has done nothing wrong really this year. And I'm quite happy to go with him in the without market and to shout loudly for finishing second as well.
Yeah, for shouting with Rixie. I've got nothing to add to what the guys have said. I do think Chacun is the best 2 mile chaser around, and the only reason I didn't back him for Cheltenham this year is because his fragility, and I think that's your anti-post question mark coming into Cheltenham. Don, do you feel free to add anything?
Go on, sorry, Don.
Yeah, no, I've nothing major to add. I backed Notebook against Chacun Pour Soi the last day. I thought if he had a chance of beating him, it was Leopardstown at Christmas, and he couldn't beat him, and now he's got Min to contend with as well. I'm hoping Fakir Duderi's bounces back here. I think he might run a bit better than he's been running to date. I haven't given up on him as a Ryanair horse. And interesting what you said about the positioning of the fences, Declan, that they've moved them out, so it's an extra half a furlong. Like this is normally 2 miles 1 is the minimum trip at Leopardstown, but this is 2 miles 1. So it's marginal, but it is an extra half a furlong they have to go. So that's it probably has no bearing really. But I think the closer you get to 2.5 miles, the more it'll suit Fakir Duderi's. And I look, he's a massive price. Maybe each way without the favourite. Is there that market on Matchbook?
I think you're just looking at it without.
Yeah, for finishing 6th.
He is a massive price, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's some drift though. Like it's like eye-catching drift. He was close to what was he? 13.0 yesterday. Now he's out to.
Was that short? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bloody hell! Kevin Blake must be riding, is he?
Quite possibly. That's good. He's a big old price, isn't he, for a horse who just touched off in an Arkle last year. Yeah. Talking of the Arkle, let's move on to that. The Irish Arkle. This is. I know that a couple of the lads are going to give a warm mention to Franco de Port, but I'll just give you the latest odds. Energumene is just a shade of odds on. Actually, I'm going to come to Donn first with that in mind. Unexpected is a 6.0 shot, 10.0 for Captain Guinness. Then we get stuck into the bigger prices. Donn, you said beforehand that you didn't exactly think Energumene was bomb-proof. He's very much the talking horse for the horse to take on Shishkin over on these shores. Where do you stand with him?
Yeah, look, I think that, look, he was so good over 2.5 miles at Gowran Park on his first run of the season, and then he dropped back to 2 miles last time at Naas, and he was impressive in beating Captain Guinness, but it was very soft ground that day at Naas, and I just think
it's Willie being like, come on, Donn.
What? Energumene? Not a certainty. I just think that he was a bit to his right as well at Naas. He was a good bit to his right at Gowran Park. He was to his right again at Naas. We didn't get a good view of the fences at Naas. Normally you have a head-on shot down the back straight. We didn't have it this time. It was a kind of a side-on shot. But he was a wee bit to his right. Look, again, he's an odds-on shot, so you're entitled to look for reasons why he might not win. And I think the fact that the ground is getting, I just think it's not going to be as heavy like at Leopardstown at the weekend as we're all thinking, because we know how quick draining Leopardstown is, and it often happens. You get to Leopardstown, you're thinking heavy ground, and it's not. So I think over the minimum trip, albeit it's 2 miles, 1.5 furlongs now, he probably needs soft ground, very soft ground, to be at his best. And I just think it's a deeper race than that. I think Captain Guinness, if the ground dries up a wee bit or just a tiny bit more, he's such a good jumper. I think that will suit him better. Unaccepted is very interesting. We haven't seen him since October, so I mean, I know he's pretty high profile for a horse who hasn't run since then, but he was very good that day in the race in which Captain Guinness was pulled up. And Franco Deporte, like, again, a severe test of stamina will suit him over this trip. Felix Deasy, he'll have to bounce back, but he's a classy horse as well. Again, he's another Gordon Elliott horse who underperformed at Christmas. So I just think all into the mix, Tom, odds on about an Ergamin. I just think it's a deeper race than that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be a backer. I have no strong betting opinion on the race. I was very taken with what he did last time. I think they'd half made up their mind that he was a 2 mile horse before the race, to be completely honest. I know that you're quite keen on Franco Deporte sectionally, based upon Deasy, based upon what he did last time. Just talk us through that.
That was very well said there, Tom, sectionally. I was looking at this race, and I'm doing a very bit of amateur timing now with this, but I had Franco Deporte down as running his race 8 seconds faster than Chacun Pour Soi over Christmas. Now they're on different days, and Chacun Pour Soi missed the last fence. But even I think allowing for that, like, it was a great time. And just I went away and hand timed it in their final circuit in the back straight. Franco Deporte was brilliant in the back straight, and he was well behind Felix Deasy and whoever else was up front. They were off at a ferocious gallop, but he just kept going. Brian Cooper gave him a brilliant ride as well. He was brilliant jumping his fences. Very strong at the finish. I think he's an absolutely cracking bet in this. He's going to be getting about 11.0. I'll be back. He'd be a max case bet for me anyway. Definitely, I'll be backing to win, and I'd nearly back him in the without market as well. I think he's my best bet of the weekend by far. And I'm a very amateur stopwatch user now, but I'm trying to get better at it. I can't put ratings on him yet like Rixie does, but that really stood out to me. Just what he did in the back straight and how he travelled and just picked them all up. I mean, like, Felix Deasy is a very good horse, and he just cruised past him. I won very easily, and I thought he was a standout bet in this.
Well, Rixie agrees with you, so maybe you can flesh it out as well, Rixie.
Just basically, you probably. I was thinking potentially of, an Argemine is such a short price here that you'd bet without the favourite again, but I want to take on the favourite here. At the price is definitely, he's going up in class. I think he's going to have pace pressure to deal with this time. He's also backing up relatively quickly off heavy ground, and he's going to run on much faster ground at Leopardstown as well. And the other thing is, I'm not totally convinced with his jumping just yet. I think Donn's already touched on it. He can go a little bit right. And then now he's running on a proper left-handed track. The last day at Naas, he was up against the far rail, and he came down the straight on the far rail, which, if he did have an issue, that probably masked it. And the other thing, just the third last fence at Naas, I didn't like the mistake he made there. He just looks like a horse to me who could potentially run into a fence and hit it midway up and potentially topple over. He just had that kind of look about it. He can be very good, but will he be as good with a lot of place pressure? I want to see. So I'm happy to take him on at the prices. I was stuck between two, Franco Deporte and Darver Star, to be honest. There's absolutely no doubt Franco Deporte picked up the pieces a bit at Leopardstown over Christmas. They went a mad gallop, especially in the middle part of the race. There was even more pace put on. But in saying that, I thought he got into the race soon enough to suggest he's a horse of good ability himself. That it would have been different if he picked up the pieces jumping the last, where he was 3 lengths down and the rest fell in a hole and he won that way. But he didn't. He was on the coattails of the leaders turning in, and Brian Cooper looked a lot happier. And look, it just looks like it's going to be a potentially similar setup here. It looks like they're going to go a hell of a gallop again. I've already touched on the way Willie Mullins trains. he could potentially improve again, this horse, who's another son of Coastal Path, that very good sire, as we all know, who gets lots of straightforward horses. I'm potentially going to have a little bit on Darver Star as well here. For him to finish as close as he did to Franco de Port at Christmas, I thought was some run. It really was, because I thought he got a very bad ride off Jonathan Moore. Jonathan Moore was brilliant in the Leopardstown Christmas Hurdle over 3 miles on Floor and Porter, but I thought this was a bad ride. When the pace in the race got very quick in the middle part of it, and he made up a lot of ground in that section. So to have finished as close as he did, I thought was a very good run. But the other thing on that, it was such a hard run. It's the kind of run that could finish off a horse's season for me. So we'll see. And I've always thought he got lucky at Christmas that the ground is very good as well. It's going to be slower here. I've always thought Darver Star is a good ground horse. And the other thing is the Gavin Cromwell Yard aren't in as good a form at this time of the year as they have been. So that's another little worry. But if he's a tough horse and he can get it all together, Darver Star is a big price here. So I'm potentially going to back Franco de Port win and place, and I might have just a win only bet on Darver Star if the market vibes are solid, because he should be shorter in the betting on what he's done for me.
Just to pick up on that, so you'd wait for Darver Star and just get a little feel for it, or
just a little. I just want to see, because he's a massive price on what he did over Christmas, because he probably shaped just as well as Franco de Port. But the Cromwell, he had a very hard run, and that's the kind of run that can finish off a horse. The ground won't be as quick, which I think is important to him, and the Cromwell Yard aren't in as good a form as well. So while he's a big price, I think he's a big enough price for a reason. Just there's other little bits there that you want to see before they line up. So we'll see. I'm just saying he's one to keep in mind. That's all.
Nobody steaming into an Ogamine at odds on at all. Then, and a couple of mentions for Franco de Port and Rixie Keen on Darver Star as well. Although maybe wait till the day. The 3:15 is the Chanelle Pharma Irish Champion Hurdle. You've got Honeysuckle in there. And great that Connections has said if she wins this again, she'll all but be confirmed for the Champion Hurdle at Cheltenham. So we'll have likely a couple of mares towards the top of the betting there. She is a 2.5 shot. Sharjah is 3.5. 8.0 for Saint-Lois, 11.0 for Abacadabras, then into the bigger prices. We've got a little bit of agreement in here. Deasy, you're not so keen on Honeysuckle, but you want to wait for it to get to a layable price. Is that fair?
Yeah, I presume all the Honeysuckle fanboys will be out tomorrow now, or she'll end up on 1.8 or 1.9 or something, and I'm happy enough to have the field running against her at that price. I think she's a great horse, but I think she's massively overhyped. And I said this before, I've been completely wrong about it, but I'm sticking to my guns. I'm going to go for it again. I think that Sharjah is probably one of the better horses that she'll have run against. And again, he's got his optimum conditions tomorrow, so I'm happy enough to lay her if she goes as on, but I wouldn't be backing anything else in the race either, because I'm quite happy to watch it.
I think the thing is, I think if she is vulnerable, it'll be back. You know, she didn't scrape home last year, but I think 2 miles is where she might just be vulnerable personally. You know, for all she might win, I'm quite keen to have something on side against her, and that for me is Abacadabras, and I know that Donn agrees. I think 11.0 could be a fair old price for Abacadabras. They put the tongue tie on last time, and well, look, you just need to put a line through it, really. The vet said afterwards that he had mucus in his trachea, and that's not him. And, you know, we've talked about the yard and where they were over Christmas, and I just think he's worth siding with again. It's weird because I'm not certain he's the best horse in the race by any stretch, and I'm not certain he's as good as I thought he was. Personally, all over him for the Supreme until Shishkin came and picked his pocket and did him and was the best horse on the day, and he's probably a better horse. But I just think if they can find the right ride for him, I'm not sure, you know, I could do with some more guaranteed pace in the race personally, but I still think at 11.0 he's a very fair price. You've got to be willing to put a line through last time, and if you're willing to do that, then you know you could look at this and say, how did Abacadabras? How is he ever available at 11.0 for this? So I'm going to be taking that for all that. I'm not saying he's the best horse in the race, but I do think he's a silly old price. Donn, what do you want to add to that? You can probably flesh it out a bit better. Donn, can you hear me, Donn?
You didn't.
He's had a stroke.
Donn's frozen. Rixie, you fill in and we'll get Donn back.
Yeah, look, I totally agree in terms of Abracadabras. He is a big price, no doubt. But I'm a little bit worried with him. He's not exactly straightforward. I think a bigger field would suit. I think he wants a lot of pace to run at where he can get buried away with lots of cover, just like he got in the Supreme. He's got the tongue tie on as well that he had going into Leopardstown the last day. And there was an excuse there. He scoped dirty. So, but that tongue tie is just a little bit of a worry for me, because I don't think his Supreme run was brilliant, but he hasn't reached the heights of the Supreme for whatever reason this season in all of his runs. Although last time he did have an excuse. I have kind of on the ratings. I have Sharjah £2 clear of Honeysuckle. Bearing in mind Honeysuckle's kind of peak run came over 2.5 miles. I just think Honeysuckle is a proper 2.5 miler, and to be honest, I even think she's worth a go over 3 miles at some stage in her career. I just don't think she has the natural raw pace that Sharjah has. The sectionals from Cheltenham last year will tell you that, because obviously the Mayor's Race and the Champion Hurdle are run on the same day. For my money, Sharjah should be favourite. And if he's in top order, I simply think he wins. But that's the thing with Sharjah, is it's if. There's a lot of ifs with him. He doesn't tend to put runs to get back-to-back together. He flopped in this race last year. The Mullins camp blamed a couple of poor jumps down the backside of the straight. And Patrick Mullins also said that he rode him too close to the pace. I, on the other hand, thought that the big drift in the market was potentially what got him beat that day. But Patrick Mullins needs to ride this horse, Sharjah, like he's an absolute monster, and he'll win. Just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Cover him up. Leave him creep into the race, because he has the gears to sail past Honeysuckle. I'm absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind about that. But again, as I just said, it's an if the same Sharjah turns up. The market will be interesting. If he's solid in the market or strong in the market, I will be backing him. So we'll see. But look, the other thing, I don't want to be too negative on Honeysuckle. She's unbeaten, and that's why she's unbeaten, because every time she turns up, she runs very well. She turns up on her A game, and she's got a tremendous attitude. And, you know, she's a very special horse to Henry de Bromhead, and especially Rachel Blackmore. I don't want to be negative on her, but I just think she's a mare who's better over 2.5. And she's coming up a horse who is just an absolute out-and-out 2 mile Champion Hurdle horse.
We've had a question in which I was going to ask actually to you, maybe not as dramatically as this, but is Sharjah one of the most underrated horses in training currently? I sort of do feel that perhaps it's because he won the same race again last time, and you know there was afterwards it was, oh, this is Patrick and Willie and Sharjah's race, and then he didn't back it up at the Dublin Racing Festival subsequently. But there is an argument to say he's underrated, right? He's
been underrated for a long time, and it's weird. He wins his third Matheson over Christmas, and now all of a sudden he's a good horse. He's been a good horse for ages. You know, he ran second in the Champion Hurdle last year, giving £7 to Epitons when he was too far out of his ground. You know, he's always been a good horse, and he's still only 8. It feels like he's been around for a long time. So I'd like to think he's not underrated anymore, because he was I think he was 25-1 for the Champion Hurdle before he ran at Christmas, 20-1, and now I think he's 8-1 or 9-1 second favourite to the race. He's still overpriced at that for me. So yeah, I'd like to think he's not as underrated as he was, but there probably still is that little bit there. For me, he should be favoured in this race again. So he probably still is actually a little bit underrated, which is just madness for me.
Donn, go on. You can flesh out the Abracadabras argument.
Yeah, just on Sharjah, it's mad. Like, I fully agree. He's a horse who's never got the recognition that he deserved. Like, he won the 3 Matheson hurdles, and even the year before that, do you remember he would have won the Grade 1 Novices hurdle at the Christmas meeting when he fell at the last. But he has, as Declan said, he hasn't been able to do the same at the Dublin Racing Festival. He was well beaten when it was the Deloitte hurdle by Sam Crowe as a novice. He was well beaten last year, and I had a look at that race again. He did make a pretty bad mistake at the flight in the back straight, but I'm not sure that was the difference between winning and losing. He just underperformed for some reason. So you're going into this race now hoping that he can bring his Christmas form to February, when he hasn't done that on his last 2 attempts. So it's an interesting conundrum. And Honeysuckle, look, you have to love Honeysuckle. She's phenomenal what she's done, and she's great for racing that she keeps on winning. She's run 9 times and won 9 times. So we just don't know how good she is. And, you don't know how good a horse is until they get beaten. But I think if she is vulnerable, it's over 2 miles. And one of her least impressive performances last season was in winning this race. So, yeah, I just think Abacadabra's, again, back to the odds, he's an overpriced horse. His run in the Supreme Novices Hurdle was a phenomenal run. Like he was in front too early. He only just gave best to Shishkin, and the pair of them pulled 11 lengths clear of the rest of the field. I think the time was a second slower than Epitance in the Champion Hurdle, so a very good time as well. And Shishkin's odds on for the Arkle, so that was a massive run. And he wasn't impressive in winning the Morgiana Hurdle this season, but again, and I think that the kind of headlines after the race was that Saint Roi didn't have the race run to suit because he got trapped in a pocket and had to get after them off a slow pace. But Abacadabras was in front earlier than he needs to be in front, and he was idling going to the run in. He only just clung on in the end, but he was idling. So again, if hopefully there'll be a good pace on and he could sit in behind. So, and like, yeah, as you say, Tom, his run at Christmas, you just put a line through it. We know the Gordon Elliott horses weren't in great form, and he also came back. He scoped poorly afterwards. So you put a line through that and move on. And if the ground is getting if it's not going to be as heavy as we were thinking, then that'll be in his favour. And his run at Leopardstown last season in winning the Future Champions Hurdle was a very good run. So we know he handles the track. So back to just odds. Like you'd love to see Honeysuckle going and winning it and going to the Champion Hurdle, but from a betting perspective, I think Abacadabras is the value.
Yeah, we're very much singing from the same hymn sheet there.
Have you boys? Have you seen who the McManus horse Saint Roi? Have you seen who his stallion is, or who his sire is? Should I say?
Coastal Path.
There you go. There you go. He didn't look too straightforward, I thought, the last day. He looked like a tough ride. He was hanging as well. Maybe he wasn't quite right, but it's mad. We've Saint Roi, this horse who's been overrated ahead of Sharjah for so long, and then Sharjah absolutely puts him in his place over Christmas. So I'm hoping for the same again.
They should have kept Saint Roi for the county again this year. Then after ruining his mark now, he would have bolted up again.
So I'm going to come on to I found one for that. I'm going to come on to it in the Any Other Bets section. Oh, which brings us on to the Any Other Bets section. Look at that. As if we planned it. I'll do it now. It's good, old, young, whatever it is. He's 6 now. Blue Sari. He's 15.0 for the 350. The what is always a good handicap hurdle. Charles Burns has won it the last few years. It's not that he won't this year. And JP McManus is, he often sends a load out in this, but I just think Blue Sari could be a really well treated horse. If you look back at his old form, I know he's off having 370 days off the track, and I'm very aware that he could just be a horse for the county. And I like that he's having a start in handicaps because before last year, handicap debutantes in the county had a horrendous record. And maybe that's, perhaps jockey bookings with Donal McInerney. He's often ridden a third string for JP in the past. But perhaps I'm barking up the wrong tree that he's going to be ready for this. But I just thought at the prices, he was well worth having on side because he could off a mark of 140. And he's often, for me, in his hurdling career, just looked like a horse who might be suited by a big field handicap as opposed to what he was trying to do. So I'm going to go small with Blue Sari, but I will be having a bit on him. Any other bets for you, Don, on Saturday? Yeah,
Blue Sari is an interesting horse. I think Antuka was a bit unlucky the last day in handicap chase at Ferryhouse, the Dan Moore chase that Daily Tiger won. He was jumping well early on. He made a mistake. It was probably about the 6th last, and after that, his confidence just seemed to be shot. I thought he did well to stay on as well as he did to take 4th place. So yeah, I think if he can just his chase rating is only a little bit higher than his hurdles rating. He's only run 4 times over fences, so he has the potential to improve and go well higher, I think, over fences. So yeah, I think a stiff 2 miles should suit him well. He's in the Matheson chase, the 2 mile handicap chase on Saturday. Yeah, I think he's one to note.
8.0 on Tuka. Rixie, for you, any other bets?
Yes, I'm his favourite now, so apologies, but I'm interested in Epsom 2 in the 2 mile 1.5 furlong handicap. He was actually entered in the Irish Arkle, which I thought was interesting for a horse with an official rating of 138. He ran the same day at Naas as Unerjamine, And I just thought it was interesting that his closing sectional from, I think, 3 out to the line. I know Arjamine went a lot quicker in the early and middle part of his race. I just thought there were elements at that time that suggested he was a classy horse. He had an awful fall behind Andy Dufresne at Wexford at the start of the season. His jumping, he then won at Clonmel when his jumping was a bit hesitant, but his jumping came together at Naas the last time, and if he can even improve again on that, a mark of 138 could potentially underrate him, especially given that Gigginstown entered him in the Irish Arkle, which I thought was interesting. So look, he's a favourite. He's head to the market, but I think he's 5 and 6 to 1 there. So he'd be of interest to me.
He's not a bad price. He might head the betting, but he's not a bad price any stretch of that open contest. DC, any other bet on Saturday?
Nothing very strong. Wave to See was the one that kind of stood out to me in that 245 race. He's down there near the bottom of the weights. I think he ran quite well last time to finish 5th. He's only a 5-year-old. He's quite young to be chasing, but they've given him plenty of experience, and I think he will go close in one of these big handicaps soon. Maybe not on Saturday, but he's an alright price. He's going to be about 13.0, so might have a small winning place betting him.
3 from that going up is an open contest.
He actually won at the Dublin Racing Festival last year. I think he picked up the Juvenile hurdle. So
he did. Yeah, he did. Let's move on to best bets on Saturday. I can't remember who went first last time, but I'll let Don go first on this occasion. Your best bet?
I'll stick with Abacadabras. I think he's overpriced.
Abacadabras 11.0. Dees, your best bet on Saturday?
Franco de Port. Best bet on Saturday and best bet of the weekend.
Best bet of 2021. Franco de Port for Dees. Rixie?
Am I allowed to join DC with Franco de Port? I just think with Ergemine taking up so much of the market, he's a very good win and place opportunity. So he'll do it for me. And the absolute irony then of me putting up a Sunday Coastal Path as my best bet on Saturday. But there you go. That's how this game works.
You love to see it. You love to see it. You could be a Sunday Coastal Path, Rixie. That's the thing, right?
I probably am.
Yeah, she's quite likely. Look, I'm going to copy Donn as well. I think. I won't split the stakes level. Abacadabras, I think he needs a cute ride, but I'll be having a fair go in the place market and a little bit in the win market as well. So he'd be my best bet. So just 2 horses as far as the best bets go. We got there. Have I missed anything? I think we're there, aren't we? Good stuff. It's a good weekend. I can't wait. DC, thank you very much indeed.
No matter.
Good man. Rixie, lovely to see you again. Thanks very much, pal.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me.
Don, thank you very much indeed. You on duty, racing TV-wise, for us, Don, at the weekend?
Yeah, Saturday. We're there on Saturday, yeah. So, yeah, privileged to go. Looking forward to it. Lots and lots. But, yeah, thanks, Tom.
Absolutely. If you get any winners, I'll be throwing over to you. I'll be sure to slip in the match.
Are you guys flying in Nick Luck again?
Oh no, I think that'd be a bit rogue. I don't think
anybody's flying these days.
Yeah, I don't think it can happen at the moment.
He surely has a yacht he could sail over.
Even the great Nick Luck can't.
I thought Nick Luck could get a Grade 1 exemption, but obviously not.
Elite sports person.
Yeah. No,
I'll be elite sports person myself in a few weeks, lads. Got the bad boy in. I'll be getting fit for Cheltenham.
If you're listening to this on the podcast, Rixie has a what's that called, Rixie?
I have no idea. I'm going to call it a belly burner.
It's a belly burner. It's a cross trainer. That's what it is. And he's happy. He's agreed that if any one of his best bets goes in, he will do a live blog on the cross trainer, live with Rixie, like a Mr. Motivator fitness session.
Nobody wants to see that. Trust me.
We do. Thanks, guys. Pleasure as always. Thanks for watching the Matchbook Betting Podcast Dublin Racing Festival special. Best of luck across the 2 days. Bye for now.